Hello everyone and welcome to the lecture of Programming in C. This is Dr. Reena Shrivastava, working as Associate Professor and Dean in the School of Computer Applications, Babu Banarsidas University. Today in this lecture, I will be talking about C tokens. So the tokens are basically the basic building blocks on which we write the program. So let us move on to the presentation to start the topic for today's lecture. Okay, so as I said, the tokens are basically the basic building blocks on which we build the program. These are the smallest individual units that help us to make our program. So what are the basic key tokens that we have? It is characters, keywords, variables, constants, strings, and operators. So to start with, I will start with the characters. Operator is in itself a very lengthy topic, so we will have a different lecture for this. Rest all we will cover in this lecture. So to start with, I will start with characters. So basically, a character denotes any alphabet, digit, or special symbol used to represent information. This is the very basic unit. So in alphabets, what we have is the uppercase characters from A to Z and the lowercase characters from A to Z. In digits, we have the digits from 0 to 9. We have special symbols like exclamation mark, hash symbol, square brackets, and other symbols that we see on the keyboard. And then we have escape sequences. So what is the purpose of these escape sequences? Normally the characters behave in the way they are defined. Alphabets are for alphabets, digits are used to represent numbers and digits. Special symbols have their own meaning. But if we want a particular character to behave differently, instead of specifying its own behavior, then we do it with the help of escape sequences. So let us discuss the escape sequences that we have. Slash B is for backspace. The normal backspace functionality that we see on the keyboard, to implement that with the help of the program, we use slash B. To provide a horizontal tabbing, we use slash T. For vertical tab spacing, we use slash V. Slash R and slash F is for carriage return and form feed. This is used while we use printers. Slash N is for a new line when we want to move to the new line. While printing, then we use slash N. Slash single quote, normally single quote, we'll see it later on, that single quote is used to denote the character constant. So if we want to print a single quote, then we will use backslash and then single quote character. To print a backslash character, we will use backslash. Slash A is to generate an alarm sign, alarm signal. Double quote, we will see it later on, that double quote is used to represent a string. String is basically a sequence of characters. So a double quote indicates a sequence of characters enclosed in double quotes. So double quotes is used to represent a string. So now if we want to print a double quote, then what we need to do is we need to specify it with the help of a slash double quote. Slash O is to represent the octal numbers and slash X is to represent the hexadecimal number. Normally, when we write a number, it is understood that it is a decimal number. If we want to specify that it is an octal number or a hexadecimal number, then we specify it with the help of slash O or slash X. Now let us move on to the variables. So whenever we make a program, we need to store certain variables and need to manipulate that variable according to the processing that we are going to define. In the last lecture, we discussed that a program is a set of instructions that takes some input, processes it, and produces some output. So for processing those variables, we need to store those variables somewhere so that we can work upon it. So in the memory, we create space to store those variables. So in a memory, we are creating space with a identifier with a name that will point to that particular space. And now if we can change the value of that particular space that we have allocated in memory, we call that identifier as variable. If we are not able to change the value of that particular space or that particular identifier, then we call it as constant. So basically a variable is an entity that may change. So the topic that the concept that I discussed right now, memory stores information. All the memory, the information is stored in main memory. While processing, while the program is executing, the information is stored in main memory. So memory stores information. To store and retrieve information from the memory, we assign them a name called identifier. So we'll associate a name with that particular memory. And now if the value of that location may change, then we call it as a variable. So we can have variables with different values. We can have the value of that variable as input from the user, or we can define variables for our own purpose, for our own processing, and then we can use it. So if we can change the value of that location, then we call it as a variable. Otherwise, we call it as a constant. So the concept proceeds like this. For constants, we now understood that we are going to allocate a memory location for a constant, and an identifier is associated with that constant. Now, if we can change the value of that identifier, then it is a constant, and otherwise it is a variable. Now, constants can be categorized into two categories: primary constant and secondary constant. So basically, primary constants are related to the basic data types that we have. For data type, we will have another lecture. So this is related to basically the basic data types that we have. So one data type that we have is integer. We can have integer type of values. So the literal values that we can have here, 3 or -3, these are basically integer constants. We can use these constants directly within the expression when we write it for calculating some formulas or for any purpose. In the same way, we can have a real type of constants. These real type of constants are basically fractional values, and they can be represented by two ways. The first one is fractional form and the second one is exponential form. So in the fractional form, we can have the values like this, 4.5 or any other value with a decimal point in between. And then in the exponential form, we have two portions, mantissa and exponent. Mantissa represent the magnitude portion and exponent represent the power 10, basically power of 10. So 3.4 E4, E separates the mantissa and the exponent, and 3.4 E4 means 3.4 into 10 to the power of 4. And we can have negative values of mantissa and exponent also. So for example, if we have 2.3 E minus 5, then this means that 2.3 into 10 to the power of minus 5. To represent character constant, we enclose it in single quote. So with the help of, if a character is enclosed in single quote, then it is a character constant. And if we simply write a D, then this is not a character constant. This might be a variable depending on the position where we are writing this character. Now the secondary constants are related to basically the derived or user-defined data types that we have. So in this, we can have a string constant. Strings are basically sequence of characters enclosed in double quotes. So here I've written an example for string as in double quotes, enter. So basically this is a string. We will study these derived types and user-defined types later on. And the constants related to this or of this type belongs to secondary constant. Array is a collection of values of similar type that occupies continuous memory allocation. Pointer is a variable that points to another variable. So it shows address of another variable. Structure is a collection of different type of elements related to a particular concept. Union is again a collection of different type of elements, but we store value of only one element at a time. Enum is used to define numeric constants. Okay, symbolic constants for a specific purpose. We will study these topics later on in the further lectures. Now the next important token that we have is keywords. Keywords are basically identifiers with a predefined and very specific meaning. So keywords cannot be used as names of variables or constants because they already have a predefined meaning. So you cannot have the keywords as name of the variables or constants. These keywords are also called as reserved words. So in C, if we talk about the basic C, ANSI C, we have 32 keywords, and the further compilers, latest compilers, they declare many other keywords also. But if we talk about the basic structure of the C compiler, then we have 32 keywords. So let us now discuss all these keywords one by one, that what is the meaning of it. So So the first set of keywords, auto, register, static, and extern, these are basically the keywords related to storage classes. Storage classes specify the scope and visibility and the lifetime of a variable. So basically what we mean by this is scope is the area or the portion of program in which that variable is visible, and lifetime is the duration for which that variable or constant is active. So different keywords, auto, register, static, and extern, have their own predefined values of scope and lifetime of the variable. So these four keywords are related to storage classes. So we can declare variables belonging to these storage classes, and those variables will have their specific properties. Next, we have for, while, and do. These three keywords are related to iterative statements. So what are iterative statements? The statement that helps you to repeat a certain set of instructions again and again. These are called iterative statements. So suppose we have a certain task and the task is of similar type, and in that task we want to repeat some of the instructions again and again. Suppose we want to check whether a given number is prime or not. So in that, what we need to do is, if we want to check whether n is prime or not, then the basic concept behind this can be, we can divide the value n by numbers from 2 to n minus 1. So with that, if the number n gets properly divided with any number in between 2 to n minus 1, then this shows that the number is not prime. Otherwise, the number is prime. So what we are doing is, basically we are repeating this process of division again and again from the number 2 to n minus 1. So the task is of similar nature. We need to repeat it again and again. So to write multiple instructions for this is not efficient. So what we do is, we use iterative statements. So in C, for implementing these iterative statements, we have these three keywords, for, while, and do. We'll study these keywords in detail, the functionality of these iterative statements in detail later on. Now the next set of statement that we have is if, and, else. These statements belong to selection statements. So basically, if we want to select a block of code to execute and we want to skip the other block of code to execute, then in that case, we can use selection or branching statement. So it is if and else. This specifies that if this test condition is true, then execute these statements, and if this test condition is false, then execute these statements. Now the next set of keywords that we have is go to and continue. These keywords basically belong to go to, continue, and break. These keywords basically belong to the category of jump statements. So with the help of these keywords, with the help of go to, we can directly jump from one location of the program to another location of the program. But the instruction or the location where we want to jump and from the position where we are jumping, that should be within the same function. So with the help of go to statement, we can simply jump from one instruction to another instruction by specifying the labels. The continue statement, basically this works with the iterative statements, and the continue statement is used to skip the remaining portion of a particular iteration of iterative statement. So if we encounter a continue statement in a particular iteration while executing the loops, the iterative statements, then the remaining instructions of that particular iteration is skipped and we move on to the next iteration. The break statement is used to move out of the nearest enclosing block. So if we encounter a break statement within any block, then the control simply moves from that position to out of the block. Earlier also in the previous lecture, I discussed that by having curly brackets, starting curly bracket and ending curly bracket, we can specify one block within the program. So within a block, if we have a break statement and if we encounter a break statement, generally these statements continue and break, they are used with the if. So these are conditional statements. Generally we use it with if. If this condition is true, then continue, and if this condition is true, then break. So as soon as we encounter this break statement, the control moves from that particular position to out of the block. Now the next statement that we have is switch statement, switch case and default. These are the three keywords again related to one of the selection statement, and this is basically a multi-way selection statement, and this multi-way branching is based on the value of a single variable. So we specify that we need to switch on the value of a variable, and the branches or the conditions on which we want to switch is specified with the help of cases. So we have different cases. If the value of that variable matches with any case, then we switch on to that particular block of statement. That particular block of statement gets executed, and then we move out of the switch statement. And to move out of the switch statement, we use break statements in between. The default keyword specifies that any of the case is not matching, any of the case value is not matching with the value of this switch variable. So in that case, we specify a default block, and then the default block gets executed if any case does not match. Now the next, these keywords that we have here is for different data types that we have. So character is to specify a character variable, int to integer type of value, float a real type of value, long again an integer type of value but with different range. Integer takes 2 bytes, long takes 4 bytes, character takes 1 byte, float takes 4 bytes. So it takes these many bytes in memory. Double again is for float type of value, real type of value. It takes 8 bytes. Constant is to specify that that identifier is a constant identifier, and the value stored at the location specified with that identifier cannot be changed. Void is again a data type that specifies that it does not takes any memory and it does not holds any value. So void is to indicate that there is no value associated. Short is again for an integer type of value. It also takes 2 bytes here. Signed is to indicate that the value is signed. This is a qualifier associated with the integer or float type of values. Unsigned is to indicate that the value that we have is unsigned. So we will not have a signed bit for it. Normally to represent a signed number, we have a signed bit that indicates whether the number is positive or negative. And if we specify that the number is unsigned, then we will not have that signed bit, and that particular bit can also be used to store the magnitude value. So we will have much more broader range if we have unsigned numbers, but we will have only positive values. But if we have unsigned number, then we can have positive and negative values also. But in that case, the range will be again approximately the same, but it will spread from negative domain to positive domain, from negative numbers to positive numbers. Now the next set of keywords that we have is struct, union, struct and union. Struct basically is this is a data type that stores values of different types, but they are related to each other. So if we want to store the information regarding a single concept, for example, we want to store information related to a student, the name of the student, roll number of the student, the course in which he or she took admission, the address of the student, the date of birth, the date of registration, and any other such type of information related to a single student, we would prefer to store it as a single variable so that we can access that information very easily. So in that case, what we do is we use a structure type of variable and we define a structure for it, and then we use a structure type of variable to store all that related information. So moving on to the next keyword, union is also a collection of similar different type of elements or different type of variables. But what is the difference between structure and union? In structure, we store value of all those variables, but in union, we store value of only one variable. So the memory allocated for a union is the memory required for the variable with maximum size. So if we allocate the memory for the variable with maximum size, we will be able to store value of any variable. So that's why the memory allocated for a union is the memory required for the variable of maximum size. This is done basically to save the space, to save the memory space. So structure and union, if we declare it, they are the both are of same type. The declaration is same for both, but the difference between the two is that in structure we store value for all the variables, but in union we store value of only one variable. Now the next one is enumeration. This is basically to generate symbolic constants. So sometimes what happens is, suppose we take example of colors. So if we say that, or if we use 1 for black, 2 for white, 3 for red, and so on, it will be difficult for us to recognize throughout the program. If we are making a big program, it will be difficult to recognize that we are using 1 for black, 2 for white, and 3 for red. But if we declare symbolic constants, symbolic integer constants for these 1, 2, 3, then we can easily recognize that black is for black color, white is for white color, and red is for red color. So generally what we do is we declare named integer constants. So enum is to define symbolic integer constants. So with the help of name, we can easily recognize that what number we are talking about. The next keyword is typedef. This is used to define a specific type. So for the basic data types also, we can define it with a different name so that it is easily recognizable. Otherwise, for other derived data type and user defined data types, we can have typedef statements, and we can define the type and the name according to our convenience. And then that name can be used for declaring variables further in the program. Next keyword is volatile. This is a qualifier basically for used to represent used to represent that the value of the variable may change from external sources also. Generally, what happens is whenever we declare a variable and use the variable, the value of the variable is changed by us only, the program only, the program in which we have declared the variable. We try to manipulate the value and then get the functionality done. But sometimes there are some global variables, global with the scenario of the system. So those variables are associated with the system. So the other programs can also change the value of those variables. So if the variable is associated with the qualifier volatile, then we need to make sure that whenever we are using that value related to that particular variable, that might get changed from the sources other than our program, and we will use the value according to that concept only. Okay. The next keyword that we have is the return keyword. The return keyword is basically used with the function to indicate, we used with the function to return a value from the function. Generally, we make a function for a specific task, and after completion of that task, we return a value to the calling function. We will study these details, the concept associated with all these keywords and details later on when we study different topics. But right now, the return statement is used to return a particular value from a function. Next keyword is size of keyword. This is basically a function and it returns the size of expression, a variable, or a data type that we pass to this function. So if we pass the data type int, then it will return the value 2 because it requires 2 bytes in memory. So it returns the size, the number of bytes required for that particular variable or type or expression in bytes. So these were the various keywords that we were talking about. Okay, so to conclude the lecture, today in this lecture, we discussed about the various C tokens, which are the basic building blocks. So we discussed about the various characters that we have, the alphabets, digits, special symbols, and the escape sequences, the keywords, the various keywords that we have. We discussed that we have 32 keywords and we discussed all the keywords and details. Then we discussed about the variables and the constants, the different types of constants that we have and we can use in the program. The string, we talked about the string. String is a sequence of characters and that is enclosed in double quotes, and then we can use it. And in C, the string is implemented with the help of character arrays. So we will study character arrays in detail later on. And for the operator token, we will have a separate lecture for it because this is a big topic. We have many operators belonging to different categories. For example, arithmetic operators, relational operators, logical operators, bitwise operators, and many more. So we have a sequence of very good number of operators. So we will have different lecture for the operators. So this was all about the C tokens. Thanks for watching this lecture.